Hi everyone, this is Attorney Feng from New York City. I'm an immigration lawyer. Today we're going to talk about visa and green card plan. Why is planning so important and make huge differences? I'm going to tell you about two cases that I handled. Those two cases will tell you there is a huge differences between if you plan your visa and green card ahead of time versus no planning at all. The first case, he's a PhD student when he first approached me. He's working on PhD in double major, and he told me my goal is to find a job in US after I graduate, and if there is any opportunity, I would like to apply for green card that will offer me more options in the future. So he's very clear what he wants, and he sent me his resume. Please advise me what kind of strategy I need to be aware at this moment and what the direction I need to work for. He's a very diligent student, I can tell, because from his resume, he had some published paper and he had quite a few conference experience and very decent citation record. So I told him, the best scenario, if you work very hard during your PhD study, you probably will be eligible to apply EB1A category in the future, because that's the highest category for green card application. It's for alien with extraordinary ability. If EB1A works well, probably you can get your green card before you graduate from your PhD. This way, you can bypass H-1B lottery, because we know each year there are only very limited quota for H-1B. If you cannot get a quota through lottery, you cannot get a working visa in US. So that's a big obstacle for international students who want to find a job in US. So if you have a green card before you graduate, then you can bypass H-1B, and that will give you huge advantage when you look for a job competing with other international students who need H-1B sponsorship. So he asked, what is my goal to work during my PhD? I suggested him a certain amount of more papers and certain amount of paper review. That's what you need to work on, and work on build up your credentials by adding more citation record and professional conference posters and publications. After 5 years, he approached me again. That resume looked very strong. So I told him, you are ready to start EB1A. So we worked on his EB1A, and after a couple of months, EB1A was approved. And then we submit I-485 to adjust his status from F visa to green card. So he got his green card right before his OPT expired. So green card at hand, and he doesn't need any H-1B sponsorship anymore. So he landed a perfect job in Silicon Valley. Of course, this is a happy ending. He and his wife are happily lived in US. So this case shows all the elements for a good planning. First of all, you need to know what you want in the next 3 or 5 years. Second of all, you know what you have. This is what I have. And finally, you find an expert to tell you the direction you need to work on. A good strategy, a good planning, you have a goal, and you make efforts in 5 years study in the US, and then you got a green card right before you graduate. So good planning give you a lot of advantage in terms of looking for a job, career planning, starting family. The next example is not so positive. So when the client approached me, he and his family was facing a situation they may need to leave US for good. So this Dr. Kim, he was born in South Korea, and he had been teaching in a university for a couple of years on the H-1B working visa. And his university sponsored his perm processing. I think it's at the 4th year of his H-1B, which means he only had 2 years working period left in his H-1B. Unfortunately, that perm didn't go well. First of all, they got audited. We know audit will delay your case tremendously. And 6 months before H-1B ran out, the perm got denied. So at that moment, he was facing a situation that he would no longer be able to extend his H-1B or using his H-1B after a couple of months, and his perm was denied. If he needs to start a new perm, that will take at least 1.5 years to finish the processing. And his HR approached me, say, okay, could you find a faster or a better way to let him stay, let him continue work, and while getting the green card. And I reviewed his resume. He had quite a few academic research achievement under his resume. He has publications, he has citations, and he has paper review experience. Because he was born in South Korea, he can definitely do EB2 NIW, which is National Interest Waiver. That category doesn't need employer sponsorship, doesn't need US job offer, and he can file I-140 and I-45 all concurrently. So this is the only way can get him EAD card under I-45 pending, and that EAD card can replace H-1B once H-1B runs out. So follow that approach. We didn't have that much time to prepare for H-1B like a regular, for EB2 NIW like a regular cases. So we finished the preparation for his EB2 NIW within 15 days. So that's very unusual. And it was very intense processing as well. And we filed both cases, and after 6 months, he and his family members all got a green card. And because he already have the EAD card on the I-45 pending, so he didn't suspend his job for a single day. Of course, that's a processing. We finally have the happy ending, but we really don't like this kind of cases, like when you're approaching at a certain point that you have to leave the country, and that leaves you very, very few options. If Dr. Kim would not have the academic credentials, he would not be eligible for NIW, then he has to go with perm processing. Then we will see during the gap he could not work, and he and his family may not be able to stay in the US. They may have to wait outside the US for the whole processing to be finished. So we can see they have very two different consequences, planning and not planning. So that says a lot of the importance about visa and green card planning. So clients may ask, if I don't want a green card in the US, do I need a visa planning? Of course you do. We all know if you are here to study, you are international student, you will have only 1 year of OPT. So that 1 year is very valuable and precious for you. If you want to work a few years in the US, then you need an opportunity to find a good employer to sponsor your working visa. And that 1 year is your opportunity and your only opportunity. So before you even start your OPT job, you should talk to the employer, whether the employer has the planning to sponsor working visa in the future. If this employer does not have any plan, you may need to move on if you need the sponsorship. So that is the plan you have to be aware of before you start your OPT job. Let's say if you want to work a few years and then you do want to stay here, at that moment, I think you do need to know if your H-1B employer has the plan to sponsor green card. If not, you may need to move on to find a sponsor who can do green card application for you. So that's all the very basic planning when you wanted to go through the next chapter of your life smoothly. And remember the story I told you today, and approach an expert in your field, see if you can sort your future out, planning your career without any problem. And we wish you all the best. If you think our advice will be a little bit helpful, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.